Patient. Welcome to the Agency of Valor bi-weekly Thursday night Team Zoom. We are going to go over what may very well be or not be the final calculations for May. Someone else jumps on Zoom and gives me some more numbers. They're going to get muted. But no, we're going to go with app count, and it has been a really cool month of some exciting things happening that we're going to talk about. So with one app, first time, I'll go into first time writers after this, but Caitlin Brock with one app, Marissa Cortez with one app, Ryan Chapman with one, Terilyn Sachs with one, Hillary Valor with two, Dave Cochran with two, Aaron Burns two, Kendrick Morgan two, Jermisi Cash two, William Sampson two, Andrea Smith two, Dan Barnes three, Carlos Jones three, Bo Hunter with four, Adam Willicke with four, Jacob Piercy with six. All right, I got to move me down. I don't like this, but me with 16. And then Chris is in third place in app count, but first place in APV with 24,000. Second place in app count by one is Clint Betzel with 18 apps. And in first place, Kelly Gideon, 19 apps. Kelly is out there trying to, her last day at her job is tomorrow. She's wrapping some stuff up. Boy, got some new people up here in the leaderboards and I love it. So let's keep that up. Tremendous production. Love to see that. And, we're coming into the summer months where we get busy. Our agency always ramps up at this time of the year. So I'm excited for that. We have a record of 20 writers for this month. 20. It's amazing. We've had 108 applications for 103,934 for the month. We've had 6 new writers this month. That is incredible. That is the number of growth that we're looking for. If we can do 6 new writers every month in this business, everyone here is going to win. We submitted a face amount. This is probably not accurate, but around 12.8 million. I'm sure it's maybe around 13 million now. And this year so far, we're the 19th largest agency owner. Now, we finished last year as the 8th. Now, what I also know is we just have been ranking up the boards as the year is going along. So 18th doesn't bother me. We are getting better and better and better. So compared to 2020, year to date in 2020, we were at 390,000. But we only had a total for the year of 20 writers. Well, here we're at 2021, we are ahead of pace with 404,000, but we are at 28 writers already. So we are maybe not as ahead of pace on APV, but with the writers that we have, we are crushing last year. And so I know as momentum is sweeping up, we're going to end this year so far up, and we have a bunch of new people coming in. And so we're super excited about that. And we have a couple of leadership runs that we've been looking at here. So we've got the Smith Agency. This was just updated at a total for the month at 44,000 of submitted business for the month. Man, that is some big numbers right there. They only need 20,000 of that issue paid to hit their second month of key leader, and 30,000 issue paid to hit their first month of AO qualifications. We'll see how the numbers come in, but it's very interesting. So let's go Team Smith. But we're not done. We've got the Daniel Barnes team at 20,451. That's kind of calculating what numbers we would need to get for specifically for that. We need 20,000 of that issued for first month of key leader. And man, I tell you, agency ownership right there. And then Betzel team, $27,015. They need 20,000 issue paid for their first month of key leader. And just a slight step closer to agency ownership, it's getting those riders in there. So I love a good tight race. The Smiths are ahead by a little bit, but if you guys were on the huddle up this morning when I was kind of talking about the numbers that we did in 2019, don't forget January, our entire agency did $21,000. By May of that year, we ended up at 114,000 at the end of that month. It can change so fast. Don't let up. And if it's your own personal production and you wrote 2 apps or 3 apps or 0 apps, what could happen here in the span of a month or 2 months could be 10 apps, 15 apps, 20 apps for you and completely change your life. It can happen here that fast if you just stay on it. So a couple announcements. We've got the Safety Poor team call tomorrow morning, 9:30 Central. The link will be posted on GroupMe as always. We've got our dial party at 3:30 Central tomorrow. I do need a volunteer or two if you want to dial in front of everybody, but get that massive correction with that massive action. Hit me up, ping me. We need somebody for Friday. Our huddle ups every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Guys, these are still some of the best things we do. 9 a.m. If you're not on there, if your camera's not on, if you're not participating, like we want to hear from you, whether you're having a bad week or not. Get in there. Let us see you. Be seen, be heard. We want you to participate in those. We got our corporate overviews every other Thursday nights at 6. And then we will talk a little bit more about this later. But of course, we've got our Altitude Conference at Universal Studios, Florida, September 8th and 9th. If you haven't registered, why haven't you done that? I would say if there's hesitation, then you're not certain. If you're not certain, we got to work on that. So we'll dig into that as things come, but it's $99 per registrant right now. The cost on that will only go up as time goes on. So get yourself registered. All right. Because I am going to be a little lazy tonight and not prepare any content. No, I'm kidding. I have asked a long time, I would say, friend, business partner through many different aspects, rival in the business, but good rival. Like I can only say rival and smile with this guy. Do you guys see this new face up here? Mark Newbauer. I'm going to give you guys a real quick, brief history about Mark Newbauer. I have known him since I was 13, 14 years old. He was one of my older brother's best friends growing up. My brother's about 9.5 years older than I am. And plenty of stories to be told, but I won't get into any of those. But the greatest story is I'm on Facebook one day and Mark's like, man, can't wait to go to my first Symmetry conference. Because I was about ready to post the same thing. And he's in Arizona, I'm in Texas, and find out that we're both in the same company. Now, Mark got here before me, and we'll talk about some of the things maybe he didn't do correctly if he was here before me. But Mark is, this was like 2 weeks ago. We couldn't find the current numbers, but the 15th largest agency owner. Might even be a little bit better after this last week. 15th largest, probably better than that. We just couldn't find the most recent numbers in all of Symmetry. But last week, you were number 1 of all agency owners. So congratulations there, man. That is incredible. So guys, I got Mark here and I'm going to ask him some questions and hopefully it's a little bit of a different voice for us and you guys can get to know this guy. So Mark, first off, how did you find Symmetry?
Yeah, thanks, Marty. And Deanna, Christine, hi guys. As you and everybody, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate the honor here to be on the Valor Zoom. Anything with the Valors is just a pleasure.
You can't say Valor and keep a straight face.
I can never.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say next, but
I do.
Guys, when I started Symmetry, I was in a much, much different place, as I think most people are when they come to Symmetry, right? It seems, as Casey and Brandon have often said, this company, let alone the industry, seems to attract people at a certain point of life, right? And many times it's at the lowest point where you're like, great, I'm going to get into insurance now. When I found this it's 5 years come July, I had a couple of startups that were not starting up fast enough. So I'm what you may refer to as like a serial entrepreneur at the time, and felt that it was important to exercise every great idea that I had, or attempt to execute every idea I had. And I also have my core passion, which is in the entertainment industry. I've been involved in that pretty much my whole post grade school life. And so that's something I really wanted to continue to pursue. And I needed something flexible that would provide, income, but still let me work on my stuff. Right. So insurance it was. And admittedly, I was reluctant I found an ad in ZipRecruiter, decided to call on it. If you want the longer version, someday I'll give it to you. But I will say this came at a time when enough was kind of enough, like what's going wrong. It certainly had nothing to do with me, right? So I was at the gym one day and I decided, you know what, instead of listening to music at the gym, I could be learning Spanish. I could be doing this. Just something hit me. I found some YouTube videos. I heard Tony Robbins talk, and he just kept saying, it was all these like luxury slideshow, one of these YouTube things. And he kept saying, someday, honey, someday, honey, someday, honey, and that just hit me really deep. And I'm like, I got to do something. And that video led to some other videos. And in an interview, please tell me when I'm droning on, Marty, but this is pretext. So in an interview, a guy asked Tony Robbins, hey, what's the most important book? If you had to name one book. And he said, I can't do that. There's the Bible, there's this, there's that. I just can't do that. And they went on with the interview. And later on, he said, you know what? I want to go back to that question about the most important book that I would recommend to somebody if I had to recommend one book. And it's a book called As a Man Thinketh, written by James P. Allen back in, I think, 1914, 1917. You can get a free PDF online. It'll take you like 40 minutes to read tonight. If you haven't read it, it's basically the key to life. I mean, it truly is. And I read it one night, and that's when the universe just started working. They say, listen to the whispers. And I had a lot of whispers at the time that were leading from one thing to another. Lo and behold, I find a ZipRecruiter ad for Symmetry. I call on it. I do the interview. He says, tells me about the lead program, because I had been in finance before, I should say. I had my life and health. I had my Series 7, my Series 66 back in 2007. I worked at UBS in Beverly Hills. Sounds really fancy. It was a quick fix to, my wife and I found out we were pregnant, and I moved out there to work in the studios for next to nothing. And all of a sudden I had to get a real job. So I went and got my Series 7 and 66. I grinded for about 6 months at UBS. I hated it. I love the people. I didn't like the work. It was, they throw a phone book on your desk and they say, find some clients, right? So fast forward to my interview years later, and I'm getting back into the industry. And I said, well, do you have to buy leads? Because it sounded like, oh, all he's talking about is leads, right? Do I have to buy leads? He said, no, you can prospect. And then I just about hit myself over the head, because that's the whole reason I left the industry in the first place, right? It's an honor and a privilege to be able to have access to people that have shown interest in what we have to offer. So I went inside. Marty knows another name I'm going to bring up here. My buddy from high school, Steve Devine, was in the office. I went out to the car to interview in the rain because I was embarrassed that I was going to be interviewing for a real job. And at the end of it, it sounded pretty cool. So I went inside. I said, hey, Steve, I'm going to do this. Do you want to do it? He said, sure. He was in the same boat I was. So we got our licenses, and the rest is history. What I felt was going to be a 6-month stint for a couple extra grand a month to get me on my feet, turned into this amazing opportunity to have the chance to associate with, multi-million-dollar minds, hearts and souls on a daily basis if I chose to, and grow as a leader, as a business person. And the reason I give you guys all that pretext is my other businesses, which were failing at the time I came to Symmetry, are now thriving to the point where my new challenge is bandwidth and balance, because we're doing extremely well in the other businesses to the point where I don't need a Symmetry as I did when I came to Symmetry. But this is it for life. I mean, Symmetry is my family. It's incredible leadership opportunity. And like I said, it has extended into my, my personal, spiritual, and business life all the while, and made me a better person. So I can't say enough great things about the opportunity here if you're willing to put in the work. And that's the key, right?
Yeah, and it's that, keep that consistency. So when we kind of ran into each other doing this business together, you had your upline, I had my upline, and they did a gentleman's bet. But my upline is still here, and your upline went for greener pastures. Can you, I don't want to get too much detail on that, right? It was all amicable and everything, but you guys did $50,000 last week as a team, right? And he gave that up. Now, you weren't doing that when he gave that up, but can you kind of maybe walk through the mindset of when you have someone that thinks grass is greener on the other side, but you've planted your flag here, and kind of how that fueled you? I mean, we talked about that a little bit when it happened. I was like, dude, why is he leaving? Like, what is going on? I mean, there was some, again, whatever issues there for himself, but like, obviously what he's given up with you and everything else going on. But how did that fuel your mindset, knowing like the person that brought you in is now leaving, but you're like, I'm here to stay?
You know, for me, I'm an observer. So at the end of the day, it was hard to see someone leave who had become a really good friend, right? Um, and it wasn't without our entire team saying, dude, what are you thinking? Like, do you know what you have here? Um, and to me, it all comes down to, again, we're not getting too deep here, but this is for everybody. I think it comes down to a level of business maturity. When things get difficult, whether it's due to, the protocols of your business, or relationship management, or whatever the key may be, as we know, as growing leaders, anytime there's a problem, it's really just an opportunity for growth, right? Anytime there's a failure, it's really an opportunity to grow and learn and become better. Some people have not put in whatever it takes to build the mindset to have the resiliency necessary to get through those moments in a forward way. Sometimes it's easier to hit that roadblock and say, well, I'm gonna make a lateral move over here, and of course it's going to be much better. But lo and behold, that block extends all the way over, right? Until you have the mindset to overcome it. So it's unfortunate, but I in a way, I love hearing these stories because we hear them often at Symmetry. It's not a rare story, right? I mean, I guarantee at your upcoming conferences, you're going to hear about somebody who's a 6-7 figure earner who is under somebody who's no longer here. And many times those people that were their upline wouldn't even dream of performing the way that they did. You know what I mean? And that's what the power of a team is. We've got some great recruiters here at Symmetry that will full out admit, I'm not the best agent in the field, but I love people and I love helping people and I'm passionate about this opportunity. So why am I going to limit myself from inviting other people into an opportunity to build a business like this and have that flexibility and grow an empire all the while, right? We all have our strengths. Let's use them all collectively.
And that kind of, your maybe your number one biggest mistake of going into Symmetry was not recruiting me, right? No, I'm just kidding.
That was down to the top.
I always give Mark a hard time about that. But no, in all seriousness about that recruiting, right? Like you're arguably not one of the best producers out there, right? And I mean, yeah, right. But you're more of like a Danny Young, right? You're more of a builder. No, but like you fought really hard to become an AO. It's really tough. I mean, it's a unique story to not produce a lot, but kind of you're talking about that passion of sharing this with people and leading that. So became an AO December of last year. Was that the?
Yeah, but may I comment on what you just said?
Yeah.
In all seriousness?
Yeah.
First of all, Marty, no. As far as that goes, I mean, that was a really, really big point that you hit there. And that is, no, I definitely am not the best producer on my team or anywhere near it. I mean, we have some beasts on our team. What I can say is that I had to grind like never before to get to a point where I could build that team and now rely on balancing that team and mentoring that team. That's my new challenge is learning leadership and mentorship and balancing my other businesses, things like that. But it's important to note, because I don't want to give anyone the wrong idea. Marty and I have a mutual friend, a very good friend, who's an amazing guy. You meet this guy, you love him. He owns health food stores, fireworks stores. He's a government official. I mean, you name it, this guy does it, and everybody loves him. And those that don't hate him with a passion, and they usually aren't people you want to hang out with. So he is a master recruiter and has funneled a good dozen or so people in here. Very good people, solid people. And he's a solid guy with a great reputation. And guess what? They never stick. They never last. Our deal was, I thought I was smart. I said, buddy, you bring him in, I'll train and mentor him. Marty, not one of them are here. And the proof is in the pudding. It's because they don't see their mentor doing anything, right? And as they say, you don't have a recruit until your recruit has a recruit. And we don't say that to be crass. We say that because we know that building a business here is crucial, and building that foundation is crucial. And if you're not willing to put in the work, you ever seen those old cop shows from the 80s where like the desk sergeant, like no one respects them because they're like, oh, you never been in the streets, Joe, you know? They always say that, right? You always see the desk guy, he gets no respect because he's never been in the streets. And that's exactly what happens here at Symmetry. You got to get in the streets, you got to get dirty, you got to learn, and you got to be people forward. You have to know that impact comes before income. So get ready to impact people. And the only way that you can do that is give from yourself. And the best way that you can give from yourself is from day one, believe in yourself and invest in this business, invest in it. Right. So anyway, I had to comment on that because
No, I
it's,
love it. No, it's so spot on. So, so you guys, I mean, you fought real hard to get AO. I mean, you've got other passions, right? I love that you're open and honest. Like, I mean, I'm going to get this up, but I mean, you've produced movies out there that, I mean, there's some things you have going on that are really cool. And, but you know, we're here, Symmetry, right? We'll talk about that some other fun time, but like you had to fight really hard on your AO run, right? It's balancing the legs, doing all this different stuff. Like, how'd you get there? And then little follow-up question on that is, you guys are growing really well. Like, I mean, you did $50,000 last week. That, I don't care who you are, that's awesome. It's super impressive. So talk to us about that AO run and how are you still growing now?
well, it feels amazing. And albeit, so I've been, for what it's worth, part-time from day one. And that's my biggest challenge is bandwidth and time management, to tell you the truth. But I love that I came here to make a few thousand a month, you know, if just to kind of compensate. And what I made probably my first year, you know, our agency did this week. And a year ago at this time, that was our just about to be our monthly figures, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, I've been here 5 years, so you guys do the math. Momentum occurs so long as you're, as Tom Ziegler says in Choose to Win, persistently consistent. And that has been my key, hell or high water. If you take a week off, you might as well have taken 3 months off, okay, when you're starting out. And I hate to say it, but you know, don't be planning those vacations yet. Like I joke because we do love our work here and we make it fun, but you know, I call this first year the coal mines, right? The first 9 months is like you see these, you know, you see Brian Delaney and Jimmy going on an African safari for $75,000, and if you're not there in 3 months, you're like, oh, I'm going to go back to my 9 to 5. No, like you got to start where you are, and you got to be willing to grind, and you got to grind, and you have to grind some more. And when you think about quitting, which I have probably 3 times in the last 5 years, like very seriously, like I can't anymore. I gotta balance a little more. And then just like Godfather 2, right? They pull me back in right when I'm out. No, but they do with their bonuses and their structures and the equity ownership. And most of all, again, the people. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you guys aren't embracing the opportunity to plug in here, and what I despise about these Zoom calls and everything is that the stuff you want to say, you're saying to people that are already doing it, right?
Yeah.
Plugging in is the key. You guys are all here. So congratulate yourselves, because that, to me, that's the magic ingredient. I mean, unless you're just one of the 100 people that like to just go to Zooms and sit there and listen and then don't, you know, take what you learn and apply it. Most of us are here and it invigorates us and it keeps us going and everything else. But at the end of the day, the AO run was very difficult. We probably, Marty, you and I talked about it. I mean, I think it was 3 different times I made it to my 2nd month and missed out on the 3rd month.
Same here. Yeah.
Painful. It's painful, but it's that kind of pain that you get after a heavy day at the gym. You know, it feels good because you know that you're growing and you know that you've got something to fix, and it's fight or flight, right? That's why we do the book of the month. That's why we do the morning huddles. That's why we do Zoom, because you can either fight or you can fly away. And guarantee, guys, most people are going to fly away. Your caveman mind, your ego is there to help you. But, you know, I put help in the Dr. Evil quotes. Like it's helping you, but it's based on archaic mentality. It's saying, this is scary, we got to run, let's get out of here. And it'll do everything it can to help you do that. It's helping you. Our job is to overcome that through building a new mindset, programming new neural pathways. And the only way to do that is to do things differently than you have been over and over and over again. Follow those that are successful. It's going to hurt, it's going to be painful, but you're building neural pathways and you're creating new threads there. And then it's going to get easier and easier. And then you've got new challenges that are welcome because you've seen the rewards of the hard work. You just got to get through that first hill. So for me, it's all about persistency, Marty. I mean, it took me 5 years what it took. I think Jimenez did it in 9 months, right? So
Yeah,
it's all relative to your journey. But whatever your journey is, time's a wasting. You know, if you're someone whose bandwidth can do this in 9 months because you're here full time and this is your full focus, then take advantage of the system and get yourself there. But the only way that you can do that is to arm yourself with what we've got here. I say it to my people all the time. It is a known fact that for every negative thing you hear or think or feel, you need a minimum of 7 positive thoughts, words, or feelings, affirmations to turn that around. So it's a 7-to-1 ratio. So if you're not plugging in, I listen to affirmations every day in the steam room, in the morning, at night when I'm sleeping. I listen to certain frequencies on YouTube. I get a little crazy with it. But at the end of the day, whatever it takes, you've got to arm yourself with positivity. And the great thing about Symmetry is they've already got it all. I mean, if you're plugging into huddle ups, if you're on the national call, if you're on your weekly call with Danny Young, you're on the Marty call here, you're arming yourself. And I guarantee you will be you're an anomaly if you can achieve, you know, what we and those, you know, doing much greater than us have achieved without that armor. You've just got to have that protection in combination with the grind.
So, I mean, yours is just, I love just that relentless persistency. Like, you know, even when it gets tough, even missing those AO runs are brutal, are they not? They're brutal, but it is that neural. I try to tell people all the time, train that neural pathway of when the hard times come, the success on the other side is so worth it.
Yeah.
And so embrace, you know, I always say, you know, when it's raining crap, embrace that, you know, absolutely embrace that. So
I compare our journey to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? You got a bunch of kids, they all got the golden ticket. That's your welcome into Symmetry. You got your license, right? That's your golden ticket. Now you're in the chocolate factory. But there's a lot of temptations to do it a different way. Well, I'm going to write my own phone script. Well, I'm going to innovate over here. I don't really need that. And then you get sucked up into this tube, or you fall in the chocolate river, or whatever variant that you put into the system. You're one of those kids that out. But if you can be like Charlie was and just follow the directions, show up, do what you're told, it will, by confining yourself to those quarters now, you're going to open the keys to the kingdom later, right? What my producing partner told me once, and I'll never forget it, and I use it on my kids all the time. Yeah, you can do that, but life is about hard easy or easy hard, right? It can either be easy now and the rest of your life's going to be hard, or it can be hard now and the rest of your life's going to be easy. Which one do you prefer? Just ask yourself that every day, right? So sorry, I wanted to add that.
No, I love that, man. I've never heard that. That's a great thing to whiteboard and put down. No, I love it. I could let you talk all day, but for the sake of time, I'm going to rein you in. So 2 things. One, but like just a quick little piece of advice. We got a lot of new people on here. You know, I know that was 5 years ago for you being new, but what's one little piece of advice, one little thing to help new people avoid coming in here to really help catapult their success?
Well, I think I've already said it, right? But in summation, guys, everything I just said, believe in yourself, okay? Surround yourself with positive people and positive things. You know what Chris Cook, our hierarchy leader, says is there are 2 things that define you the most: the books you read and the people you associate with. I mean, at the very base, just remember that, okay? And if you're like, well, I don't read any books, start reading them, because as Danny says, if you're not reading, it's the same as not being able to read. So unless you're just super fine with being illiterate, if you are, no offense, and we'll get you there. But if you're not, peel open a book and read, right? But plugging in is absolute for me, the absolute must. If anybody's going to be here, you got to show up, because we're a team. And if you're not there for you, you are, by the way, but if you're not there for you, then show up for other people, because we're only as strong as our weakest links. And if you're going to be the weakest link, you got to look in the mirror and say, okay, my why might not be important enough, but am I really the type of person that wants to interfere with other people's why by dragging the anchor, right? And that doesn't mean don't make mistakes. Make as many as you can. I love Miranda Martin. She says, make your first 1,000 mistakes as fast as you can. Go out there and get messy. The clay pot theory, right? Have you ever heard about the study of the clay pots? You have, Marty. So you could tell your team. It's quantity over quality. At the end of the day, equals quality. Okay, get out there, make a mess, get messy, and learn. It's only through that. Val Zarn, his son's a pro swimmer. I love what Val says. He says, you imagine learning how to swim. If someone gave you a book, like a book that taught you how to swim, and you read it, and then they took you to the pool and said, okay, now swim. You gonna do it? Anybody learn how to ride a bike by reading instructions? Did you read a pamphlet and get on the bike and just sail away? Or did you fall down and you scraped your knees and you cried and you're embarrassed, said, don't get your hands off, right? Because I'm doing it myself. And then you fall again. You got to do that a lot of times, guys. Break a few eggs to make an omelet, as they say. And conference is probably the biggest plug-in that you could be a part of. And I say this with love to my people. I say it with love because I don't want to waste anybody's time. This is the chocolate factory. Most people are not going to succeed here, not because they can't, not because they don't have the resources, because their why isn't bigger than their excuses. So the first thing you got to do is really define a why. Laura Davis says, get a why that makes you cry. Because if you don't have a why that makes you cry, then it's probably not big enough when the hard time comes. So really dig deep, find out what it is your dream, what your dream is, why you're here, what you're doing. Let that fuel you. And an agent said, I think it was Nate Offert, he puts a sticky on his mirror of his why. And when he feels like skipping dialing or doing this or doing that, he looks in the mirror at it and he has to say to his why, whatever this excuse is more important than you right now, right? Try that on for size and then see if you feel like making excuses. So I say this with love. If you're not going to conference right now, if you're not, going on and registering, if you want to search for flights on Expedia tomorrow, that's okay. But if you're not registering tonight for conference, you got to really ask yourself, what am I afraid of? What's stopping me? And if there's really a legit reason that you come up with, you got to call Marty or your upline and you got to have a talk about it. You got to let them know, be bold enough to say, hey, I'm not going to conference because, but I can tell you, if you're not going to conference, you're probably not going to be here by the time the next conference is here. You're just not. You will not be equipped with the training, the association, and that armor that I talked about earlier necessary to build an empire here. Okay? If you hear any celebrity story, any multimillionaire story, any successful person's story, you name the person that you admire most, okay? Whoever it is, from Gandhi to Jay-Z, they went through some really, 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 really tough times to get where they are. And they didn't go the lateral move and they didn't go backwards. They went forward despite the fear, right? The definition of courage is not to not be afraid. The definition of courage is to proceed in spite of the fear. Okay, you got to remember that. So conference is a must first and foremost. If you simply register for conference and show up and grind until September, just make sure you keep your hat on and stay here until then, you're going to be golden. I promise you. If you haven't been to a conference yet, Good luck. I can't explain it. It's like me trying to tell you what it's like to have a baby. I can't do it. I could tell you I think it hurts. I could tell you I've heard it hurts. I could tell you it's a joyous occasion from a father's POV, but I can't tell you what it's like to have a baby. I can tell you what it's like to make a baby, but I won't do that. So anyway, guys, long story short, plug in, apply persistent consistency. That is truly the key. Is just Chris Cook says it. Activity solves everything. Put in that activity. Measure your activity so you're not, pardon my French, but bullshitting yourself. Measure it. Get that activity sheet. Mark down your dials. Mark down your contacts. If you make 5 contacts and you haven't, set an appointment. Call your upline and say, hey, I've talked to 5 people and here's what's happening. We're going to get you through it. Okay. So go out there and make the mistakes so we can help you fix them. And then you're going to be a pro.
And what I love about all this, Mark, is like, I threw you a couple questions, but like, I love what I heard at Symmetry from the get-go, from the leadership over and over again. It's the same things. It's a different voice. It's a different perspective. But I hope you guys are here, and I'm here, and I'm sitting here taking notes myself. So if you guys aren't, I'm just going to challenge you. Why aren't you? I am, and I'm your upline, but I'm taking notes because I want to learn. I come onto these things, but it is the same thing. Read, plug in, be persistent and consistent. And it goes, these are every person that's been successful in here tells you to do the same things over and over again. And if you're not doing those, why aren't you? Right. And it is, man, Mark, it is a grind. I love it. I said, you'd be willing to grind again, and then grind some more. I wrote that down. Loved it. And can you say it one more time? What was it? It was, do you want it to be easy now and hard? I mean, it was worded better or hard now and easy later. I mean,
yes, just remember 4 words, just 2 words repeated. You want it to be easy, hard, or hard, easy?
Yeah.
And then you just explain what that means.
I love it. And this is what I tell my team all the time, and I'll leave you guys with this. Man, the business that we are in is tough. You are going to have to grow to be successful here, but we're a leadership development company. We're here to help you grow. When you hit those hard times, when it's raining crap, embrace it, because success is on the other side. And I promise you, it's worth it.
Yeah. And if I can comment on that's the reason, not the reason. I'm here for so many reasons. I love Symmetry. I love the opportunity here as a human being and as an entrepreneur. There's not a better opportunity out there. I joked to Marty. You asked me that one time in the pizza place out at conference, like, would you ever stop doing Mike the Pike? No, I wouldn't. But I joke, if I weren't cursed with my love for entertainment, are you kidding me? This is the best opportunity out there. It's hands down the best system that there is to create a business and an empire. And as you can see from the higher ups now that we see what these other people are doing, this is simply a road to you being able to do whatever you want in life, right? This is that. I remember when we were little, we used to say, man, what if, you could, if someone told you that you could just work your ass off for 5 years but it was just miserable work, but then you'd be rich for the rest of your life. Everybody says yes to that question, right? Everybody says yes to that question. On top of that, our job's not miserable. It's amazing as long as you're plugging in. If you're on an island, if you're dialing from your closet and you're not plugging into Zooms, you're not on conference calls, again, I'm preaching to the choir, you guys are here, but yeah, then it can be pretty daunting. But if you just embrace the grind, it can be fun on top of it all. But the opportunity to grow a business here is like no other. And what I wanted to say about that, Marty, was the proof is in the pudding. My other businesses were dying on the vine when I came to Symmetry. And even in the entertainment thing, we had some lawsuits, we had this, we had that. When I look back on it, it's embarrassing. I didn't even like saying that out loud just now. It's embarrassing compared to what I know is possible for everybody on earth, now, right? We are limitless beings. But when I go back and look at my emails, say circa 2014, 15, 13, it's not the same person. I am not the same person. I do not speak the same way. I do not email the same way. I deal with problems differently. If you read Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, my level 1 problems, when you're at a level 1, they seem like level 10s, right? It's all relevant. When you're at a level 5, a level 1 problem is like, here you go, next, right? So you guys, whatever it is that you're seeking in life, use this as a means to that end, and realize that it's so crazy. It's disguised as this insurance company. It's so much more. And the only way to get all that treasure that comes on the other side is to follow the system on the things that maybe you're afraid of, maybe you're not used to doing. And sure, I know there are probably 9 other ways to do it, but I don't know what they are. I know what works at Symmetry. Marty and I have seen it time and time and time again. We've seen what happens when people pursue and proceed, and they grind. We see what happens when people give up. We see what happens when people leave for the grass is always greener. And believe me, it never is. And those that go the other way never grow. 3 years later, they're still in the same position, doing the same thing, and have actually gone backward and atrophied. So really, really tonight, be grateful that you found this opportunity. Be grateful that you have Marty Valor and this entire, and Hillary and everyone else behind you guys and beside you guys to help you grow. And just be grateful for that tonight, and know that you're in good hands. Like you're held by some of the most caring, amazing, brilliant people that I know and have had the pleasure of knowing longer than I like to admit, because I didn't recruit Marty, because we didn't go into that. We'll get into that at conference, the longer story, but it's pretty crazy, guys. And if for no other reason to come to conference, you should go to hear that story. But guys, I love you. I say it with love. Stick with it. You know, your why is worth it. Find out what that why is, put it on that Post-it, and work for it. It is worth it, and you're worth it.
Yeah, man, Mark, I love it. Tell your why that it's not worth it when you go to dial. That's right. It's hard to do. So, man, thank you for pouring into all of these guys. I mean, I know we kind of did this last minute, y'all. Mark just kind of dropped everything. He goes, man, whatever you need, I'll be on there. And so very grateful for you, Mark, and just friendship, partnership, fun rivalry. Just it's you know, where can you go? So thanks for being on, guys. We've got one more day left of the month. Apparently y'all decided to wait the last minute to crush it. So let's do this again tomorrow and let's get after it. We'll see you guys in the morning. Take it easy.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.